I often wonder how you keep from telling me that you're proud of me. I have tolerated thousands of things that you would not have tolerated as a wife or a mother. But you have never praised me. You could have taken me for tea, talked with me, looked into my eyes and told me that you couldn't believe how I tolerate all this shit. I'm sorry, I just hate that. Can we not talk about something else other than nutritious food for the kid, her school homework, saving money, my husband's shortcomings? Yeah, it's strange that parents don't become their children's favorite people. You have made me realize that there's a big difference between like and love. I need my daughter to like me. I never enjoyed spending time with you. You always switched on a torch and directed it towards my life. Please understand that I have things to hide from you, Mother. I have things to hide from you.
Cast as Mother is a reading of a manuscript. The manuscript is called The Passing Stage, and it was put together through the writings of 13 women who are artist mothers who wrote anonymously for 1.5 years. What started off as a very small idea had suddenly grown into this monster of a manuscript we suddenly had, because we all work so obsessively hard on the passing stage process, first as writers and then as translators. Initially, what we did is we got a group of people together, and this was not only the people who wrote, but in fact there were several young people, unmarried people, people just out of school, boys and girls, who had heard about this process and very keen to get involved in some way in the creation of whatever might come out of this manuscript. And we actually tried several things. We tried writing again, we tried creating characters. So we had this idea that it must be a play. So we wrote little scenes based on the exercises, etc. But there was a sense that it was not what needed to be said or not what needed to be done. And then we took a step back, and then we had several months into this process, this new process of let's take the manuscript and let's write something on it. Can't quite remember how the decision came about. But we decided that the most natural thing that needed to happen, the thing that was asking for space, was a kind of a presenting of this manuscript without too much of a fuss, without trying to perform it, without trying to interpret it. It was interesting that we came back to such a simple thing. We made it even more simple because we said we're not even going to perform this, we're just going to read it. Presenting the material in the manner in which it had been collected. So starting with a conversation between Ruanti and Nadi, which was part of the writing process, the play began with a conversation between Ruanti and Nadi on stage, and then Ruanti and Nadi collected all these 13 women to this, and then each task was then presented as a reading, and we went forward through the 7 tasks right up to the end of the play. And like in the process, where many of the exercises, whether we did it by ourselves or together, it was always interrupted by some calamity and in the house, some child, getting a cold or bruising their knee or, something like that. The play also ended absolutely abruptly with some kind of calamity to do with a child, and it ended in that abrupt manner.
So Cast as Mother, in my mind, was an exploration of motherhood and femininity and sexuality. And we sort of created these various scenarios through which we tried to communicate to the audience some of the information we found out by working with each other, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. For me, it was a chance to bring writing onto stage,
Yeah.
Writing that we had also participated in, so our own writing. Yeah, it was also just kind of trying to be accurate, or as much as we thought we were being accurate in representing motherhood
Yeah.
and the balancing act of motherhood and being an artist, because I think we all came from a point of saying there's quite a bit of romanticism that's attached to motherhood, and often women don't really get to say what it's really like for fear of judgment.
Yeah.
So this was a space in which we had been quite honest in our writing.
Absolutely.
So at least some of that,
Yeah.
to communicate that to a larger audience.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting to see the audience reaction
Yes.
to that honesty, because I do feel like we were all very honest in terms of, because I think we wrote anonymously,
Yes.
that made us more
Yes.
honest than we might have been
Yes.
otherwise.
Yeah.
And it was extremely interesting to see the audience's
It was.
reaction to that.
So I remember a particular social media conversation after Caster's mother,
Yeah.
in which I think somebody said, but then many men ended up agreeing with him about how it made men look bad,
Yes.
right? And it made motherhood, it really was a downer on motherhood, right?
Yeah.
And I found this really interesting because here was an effort to be authentic, but people are so used to hearing the other narrative that this was too in your face reality shock horror.
Yeah, I think because we did really try to break conventions
Yes.
with our truths, and
Yeah.
I think the audience of all kind of classes, or how
Yeah.
you choose to sort of identify them, across the board there was kind of consternation.
Yes, absolutely.
Wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
who are these women?
Exactly.
And, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
motherhood is something to be celebrated and,
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
wonderful,
treasured, and, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, that's interesting.
Dear Doctor, thank you for not being late. Thank you for calling me back last night. Thank you for the text inquiring after my child's health.
මගේ නම්බර එක ડોක්ටර්ගේ ෆෝන් එකේ සේව් කරගත්ත එකට thank you ડોක්ටර්. මගේ බබාගේ නම මතක තියාගත්ත එකට thank you. ඇත්තට මගේ බබාලා දෙන්නගේම නම් ડોක්ටර්ට මතකයි.
Thank you for not charging me every time I visit.
අලුතෙන් ලෙඩ වෙච්ච ළමයෙක් අරගෙන එනකොට මිසක්
Thank you for asking me about my work, for noticing how tired and run down I look.
ඔය පුරුද්දට වගේ ලියලා දාන එක එක જાතිය ටෙස්ට් 7-8ක් නිර්දේශ නොකරන එක ගැන නම් thank you ડોක්ටර්.
මොකද මගේ ජීවිතේ මේ එක්තරා සම්දිස්ථානයක මං හිටියේ වෙලාව මට දරුවෝ ලැබිලා මේ කියන්නේ මට අවුරුදු 12කට පස්සේ දරුවෝ ලැබිලා ඊට පස්සේ මම පුරුදු වෙලා හිටපු නිදහස් ජීවිතේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම සීමා වෙලා
අපි හැමෝටම මෙහෙමයි මම
එහෙම ඔව් ඒක සීමා වෙලා ලොකු මම හිතන්නේ අරගලයක මං හිටියේ මානසික අරගලේ. අන්න ඒ වෙලාවේ තමයි මේක කරන්න පටන් ගත්තේ. ඇත්තටම මේ කතා බහ තුළින් මට හිතුණා මං තනි වෙලා නෑ නේද. අපි හුඟක් අයට මේ සමාන අත්දැකීම් තියෙනවා. සමාන අත්දැකීම් තියෙනවා. සා අපිට අපිව මේ මුදා හැරගන්න අවකාශයක් ලැබුණා. මුදා හැරගන්න යම් අපි දේවල් ලියලා මුදා හැරගත්තා. කතා කළා මුදා හැරගත්තා. සහ දේවල් රඟපාලා මුදා හැරගත්තා. ඒක හරි වැදගත් සහ අත්දැකීමක් වශයෙන් මතන්නේ නළුවෙකුට ඉතාම වැදගත් අත්දැකීමක්. ඒ කියන්නේ තමන් අවංක වීම කොයිතරම් දුරට අපිට අවංක වෙන්න ඕනේ. සමහරට අපි චරිතයක් රඟපාන්න ගිහිල්ලා චරිත දුන්නාම තමන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ එතන තියෙද්දි අපි ඒක පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ. මේ අනේ මේ මගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ කියලා පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම කැරක්ටර් එක ඇතුලේ ඒක තියෙනවා. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා.
නමුත් ඒක පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ අපේ වගේ පසුබිම් වල. අපේ වගේ රටවල් වල. ඇත්තටම ඒකට අවංක වීම කොයිතරම් දුරට අවංක වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන தත්ත්වය තුළ අපේ රංගනය මම හිතන්නේ උද්දීපනය වෙනවා. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ ඒකට සෑහෙන්න වැදගත්කමක් ලැබුණා මේ ව්‍යාපෘතියට සම්බන්ධ වෙන. ඔව්.
කාස්ටර්ස් මත ඇත්තටම මම දකින්නේ මොකක්ද අර මේ මගේ නිකන් නිලියක් හරි කලාවිනි ඇලෙන කෙනෙක් විදිහට හරි නිකන් රීබර්ත් එක වගේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම ඇත්තටම මේ පාසින් ස්ටේජ් එකට සම්බන්ධ වෙනකොටත් මම හිතුවේ මං ආයේ කවදාවත් මට වැඩ කරන්න හම්බ වෙන එකකුත් නැහැ කියලා. අනිත් එක අර මට ඒකේ තියෙන්නේ අපි වෙන කිසිම නිර්මාණයකට වැඩිය අපි කතා කරේ අපේම දේවල්නේ.
ඔව්.
අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපේ රයිටින්ග්ස් ඇතුලේ මම දකින දෙයක් තමයි තිබුණේ මේ සමාජයෙන් එල්ල වෙන සමාජයේ එක්ස්පෙක්ටේෂන් සමාජයෙන් අපි මත පටවන ගිල්ට් එක මේ වගේ දේවල් අපි කතා කරා. සහ අපි කතා කරේ ගොඩක් කන්ට්‍රොවර්ෂල් ඉෂුව එකක්. නිකන් පොඩි අල්තාරයට ගල් ගහනවා එක්කත් තිබුණා අපි සමහර දේවල් වලදී. මොකද අපි ඒක ඇතුලේ මේ මිනිස්සු සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එළිපිට කතා කරන්නේ නැති දේවල් ලියලා ඒක ප්‍රෙසන්ට් කරන මොහොතේ ඔඩියන්ස් එකක් ඇතුළට මට ඇතුලේ ඇත්තටම පොඩි ටෙන්ෂන් එකක් තිබ්බම මතකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ අපි අර ලියනකොට බොහොම නිදහසේ
ලියපු එක
පාසින් ස්ටේජ් එකේදී ඊට පස්සේ ඒක පර්ෆෝම් කරද්දී රීඩින් එකක් විදිහට වෙන ෆීලිං එකක් හැබැයි පොඩි ගැම්මකුත් තිබ්බා. දැන් මේක කියන්න යනවා අපි මේ සමාජයට කියන එක අපි හිතපු දේවල් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. දරුවෝ ලැබුණාට පස්සේ අපේ දෙන්නගේ ජීවිත වෙනස් වුණේ හරිම පරස්පර විරෝධී විදියට. මගේ නිදහස අතිශයින් සීමා වෙලා යද්දී ඔයා පෙර තිබුණටත් වඩා නිදහස්කාමී ජීවිතයක් කරනවා. මගේ ජීවිතේ මුළුමනින්ම දරුවෝ හදා වඩා ගැනීමට යොමු වෙද්දී ඔයා මගේ ඈත් වුණා. ලෝට බිහි කිරීම කිරිදීම විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඊට පස්සේන සියලු දේවල් වගකීම මටම බාර ගන්නවා. දරුවෝ නිදි කරවීම, টয়ලට් ට්‍රේන් කිරීම, සෙල්ලම් කිරීම, කැවීම, නෑවීම, දොස්තර ළඟට ගෙන යාම, ඇඳුම් ගැනීම, ඇඳුම් ඇඳවීම, බෙහෙත් පෙවීම, කතන්දර කියා දීම, බෝල ගැසීම, ප්‍රශ්නට උත්තර දීම, චිත්‍ර.
No, I mean, I think I still struggle with some of the same things that I struggled with 10 years ago. So Naren is 13 now. And life is still a little bit of a balancing act and a juggling act for me. And perhaps a little different from you, where it's also not a full-time career choice that I made. I also do another job.
Yeah.
There is always my own guilt that doing anything in the arts is a bit of an indulgence. Right?
How dare you?
But it's but it's also in direct and indirect ways something I get from other people.
Of course.
Right? Every time I even remotely think about doing something that's going to be another time commitment and an emotional investment by being a single mom, having a full-time job, there's always like, oh, you know,
What about Naren?
exactly, and one more thing, you know. So I think that challenge maybe, I mean, I feel it also physically because I think, you know, when he was 3, he had much more practical needs. And if there was someone to feed and clothe, then look after him, right? Now I think the needs are much more emotional. So I find the juggling act that much harder because I'm continuously kind of in two worlds, even if I'm at a rehearsal or anything like that.
Right.
So I would love for him to be able to say, my mum did all that,
Yeah.
right? And she was still a great mum and we had a good time,
Yeah.
right? And I would like, and that's something I really try to kind of instill this person with multiple interests and needs and passions. He is a priority, he's one of my top priorities, but I am more things
Of course.
than being his amma. That is a lesson I instill with him, and I think I overdo it.
Right.
To the point of
Right.
being very, very sensitive even to how he perceives me or what I do and things like that. I think he understands that a lot more than other kids, that there is no sole proprietorship or ownership, you know.
That's so
Amma will
important,
be at
isn't it?
rehearsal,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't mean she's a bad mom.
Of course.
But I think I continue to struggle with that.
Guilt.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
guilt.
guilt.
And that's just something that comes with parenthood, isn't it? That constant
It
worry
is.
of, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
am I being too protective? Am I not being protective enough? Am I ensuring that this person, as he goes forward,
Right.
is someone I would be proud of?
And am I pursuing my dreams
Yes.
at the risk of
My child.
my child's?
Yeah.
You know, there's almost a question of, is there a particular time when you say now it's his time,
Yeah.
right? And that means your light dims a little, to be metaphorical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
yeah.
That there is a time when you say, now I'm going to just forget everything else I was doing so that he can have this full. I'm not there yet, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want to be there. But that's a little bit where I see the struggle is different. I think about the struggle a lot more now than I did 10 years ago. But you battle with it all the time.
My parents taught me that marriage is sacred and infidelity is terrible.
මගේ අම්මා තාත්තා කනකම් කන්නේ. කොච්චර බඩගිනි වුණත් කන්නේම නැහැ. තාත්තා ආවම වක්ති ගන්න බෙදාගෙන කියලා ළඟට ගිහිල්ලා දෙනවා. අම්මා තාත්තා සලකන්නේ එහෙමයි. අපේ අම්මා මට කිව්වේ විවාහය පරිස්සම් කර ගන්න ඕන මහත්ය කනකම් කන්නේ.
ජීවිතේ මට කියලා දෙන්න තියෙන ප්‍රීතිමත් විවාහ කියන්නේ හරිම අතලොස්සක් තියෙන. ඇත්තටම ප්‍රීතිමත් විවාහ ජීවිතය.
Life has taught me that you can't live according to a contract. Marriage is an uncharted journey, and what works for marriage will not work for another. When you have a love and a trust that is built on something other than sex, like a mutual mindset, then marriage can be just the most fabulous thing. As for infidelity, personally, I can't be asked with it. It's just too much bloody effort.
I would like to teach my children that you don't need to sign a piece of paper to be married. I don't think that in this society and in future society, marriage is a construct that we need in order to be a family.
මම්මගේ ළමයින්ට කියන්න කැමති විවාහය කියන එක ජීවිතේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ගත යුතු තීරණයක් නෙමෙයි කියලා. මම කැමති යාලා විවාහයට කලින් ජීවිතේ හැම දෙයක්ම උපරිමයෙන් අත්විඳිනවා නම්. ආදරය, සෙක්ස් මේ හැම දෙයක්ම. ඊට පස්සේ විවාහ වෙනවද නැද්ද කියන එක තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්.
I don't think I want to teach my children about marriage or infidelity. I hope they don't experience either.
අම්මා කෙනෙක් විදිහට මගේ හැසිරීම මම ගන්න තීරණ ගනිද්දි මම පදනම් වෙන්නේ මොනව මතද කියලා මට දැන් හිතුනේ ඒක තමයි ඇත්තටම අපේ ඇත්තටම වැලියුස් අපි ඇත්තටම ලෝකෙ ගැන මොනවද විශ්වාස කරන්නේ අපි ඇත්තටම අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය ගැන මොනවද හිතන්නේ අපි ඇත්තටම මනුෂ්‍ය සම්බන්ධතාව ගැන මොනවද හිතන්නේ කියන එක ඇත්තටම රිෆ්ලෙක්ට් වෙන්නේ අම්මගේ භූමිකාව ඇතුලේ මගේ
හැසිරීම තුල තමයි ඇත්තටම අවංකවම දේ එන්නේ නේද?
ඒක ආටිස්ට් කෙනෙක් විදිහට පබ්ලික්ලි ඊට වඩා වෙන ඉමේජ් එකක් අපිට මේන්ටේන් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කොන්ෂස්ලි හෝ අන්කොන්ෂස්ලි ඒක අපි ඒක වෙන පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඇත්තටම අපි කවුද කියන එක මට හිතෙනවා අම්මා කෙනෙක් විදිහට අපේ භූමිකාව ඇතුලේ පේනවා කියලා. ඒක ඇතුලෙන් රිෆ්ලෙක්ට් වෙනවා කියලා. ඉතින් එතකොට මේ දෙක ඇත්තටම එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් කලාකාරයෙක් විදිහට මම හිතන්නේ ඒක
හරි වැදගත්.
I can't separate being a mom from being someone who has very firm views about that. And I think those things are in me despite being an artist and despite being a mother. For me, there is no separation. I am that thing. And it's very important to me that my children see me doing that in public, which I do, especially when we do forum productions or whatever it is, they're there and they're watching me kind of moderate this debate on very sensitive
issues.
For me also, it's very hard to separate. I think there's certain values that would exist that whether I was in the arts and whether I was a mum, it would probably be also then what I try to live out in those roles. I think I overthink that to death in terms of being a mum and how I raise Naren and raising him to be socially aware. I do very little theatre now. But I would love to always do theatre that kind of speaks to that directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
A child takes a lifetime to grow.
මම හොයාගෙන තියෙන ලොකුම ඇත්ත.
සෑම සාර්ථක පිරිමියෙක් පිටුපසම ගැහැණියෙක් සිටී.
සෑම සාර්ථක ගැහණියෙක් පිටුපසම ඇගේ දරුවන් බලා ගන්න තවත් ගැහණියෙක් සිටී.
මගේ දරුවෝ මං ගැන දැනගන්නවට අකමැති දේවල්.
I wish they were enough to fill me.
What I do not wish my children to know about me. What I do not wish my children to know about me.
When I'm in the theatre, I forget them.